Hello and welcome to Within the Frame. I'm Han Da-eun in Seoul. Reunification of the two Koreas seems more distant than ever, with North Korea making the unprecedented decision to abandon its long-held unification goals with South Korea. Tensions are reaching new heights, with the North forging ahead with its trash balloon campaign, missile provocations, and seeking closer military ties with Russia, while South Korea bolsters its security alliance with the United States. But despite mounting challenges, efforts continue here in South Korea to work towards the goal of peaceful reunification, with President Yoon Suk-yeol unveiling a new unification doctrine that put greater emphasis on liberal democracy. As both nations continue to evolve, the question remains, can the North and the South find a path toward reconciliation? For some answers, we've invited a very special guest today. We have the honor to speak to Yong-ho, Secretary General of Peaceful Unification Advisory Council, who joins me in the studio. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Okay, thank you for the invitation.
So you were named as the head of the Peaceful Unification Advisory Council in July, becoming the first North Korean defector to hold a vice ministerial position in South Korea. How do you feel about it? And also share with us more about the role and the work of the council.
Yes, as you have mentioned, this is the first, case in the Korean Peninsula's history of division that the former North Korean diplomat is appointed to vice ministerial level. I think it is very important message to North Korean regime as well as North Korean people. Because according to our constitution, North Korean population is naturally the citizen of our country as well. And President Yoon Suk-yeol continues to deliver the message to the North that North Korean population is also the citizen of our country. And by appointing the former North Korean diplomat like me to a vice ministerial level, it send a very clear message that there is no discrimination against North Korean background. My government and Korea would treat equally and also provide the same chance and opportunity to former defectors and former North Korean civil servants if they come to Korea for freedom. So I think this message is very important to North Korea. And my organization, the Peaceful Reunification Advisory Council, is a constitutional organization which plays a role of advising the president on the policy of reunification and also collect the opinion of publics on the policy on reunification. So it gives a kind of impression to not only to our population, but also the population to the North as well, that my government want to make a kind of new policy on reunification, not from the point of ourselves, but from the point of North Korean people as well, by asking and relying on the North Korean defectors here. So I think it is a very, important development in our cause for reunification.
You've highlighted a very important point that North Korean defectors are South Korean citizens by the Constitution.
Yes.
And just as a side note for our viewers who may not be so familiar with the Council, it's a presidential advisory body established in 1981 that has been playing a pivotal role in South Korea's road toward unification. I believe around 22,000 advisors are appointed both domestically and abroad. And the Council held a meeting of high significance this week, convening over 700 experts and advisors from the North, the Central, and Latin American regions. What were the main agenda items? Walk us through the highlights.
Yes, I think the meeting was held following the August 15 reunification doctrine presented by the President Yoon Suk-yeol. In this doctrine, for the first time in our history, the President Yoon mentioned that Korea needs the support and solidarity from the world community in our efforts to reunify the Korean Peninsula. And in the current and last meeting, President Yoon emphasized to those, the council members, to work actively to bring the support and solidarity from the world community, especially in our cause for reunification. So the council members overseas should play a kind of bridge between Korea and their resident states.
As you mentioned, President Yoon Suk-yeol was also there. He delivered a keynote speech during the opening ceremony. Can you tell us more about his key message and your thoughts on it?
Yeah. President Yoon especially emphasized the international community's support and solidarity on our reunification cause, because now the Korean Peninsula at the crossroads of crisis on the issue of reunification. In the past, North and South, no matter that there is a difference in ideology and system, but North and South spoke the same language of reunification. For instance, North and South sang a same song of reunification, and no matter destination of the reunification could be different, but we had a common language of reunification. But from the last year, North Korean Kim Jong-un regime wanted to delete the word of reunification. Now, North Korean regime started to destroy all the monuments, buildings, museums, which could be related to reunification. North Korea even changed the national anthem and deleted the word of 3,000 or, reunification, whatever. So, and North Korea wants to, carry out two Koreas policy worldwide. And actually, this two Korea policy was a policy which was introduced and forced by the big states. So North and South in 2091 agreed that North and South cannot remain two states. We are in a temporary special position towards reunification. But one of this North and South, North Korean regime, now wants to have a two Korea policy. So if South Korea is silent on this two Koreas policy, then the states around us would accept this kind of policy as a kind of established ones. So it is a very right time for the president to raise our voice that we cannot accept two Koreas policy. We need a reunification, and my government and the people in South Korea would continue, the cause of reunification to the end. So in Korean Peninsula, two policies now are clashing each other. The policy of two Koreas from the north and reunification from the south is now, clashing at this moment.
There are quite a lot of controversy surrounding President Yoon's unification doctrine, but as you mentioned, the presidential office as well as quite a lot of North Korea experts say that it reflects the South Korean government's strong will to prevent permanent division of the two Koreas and materialized unification through peaceful means. But North Korea remains oddly silent on President Yoon's new unification doctrine. What could be some possible reasons?
First of all, there is really a great change in President Yoon Suk-yeol's policy. In the past, all Korean governments, no matter whether it is, conservative or progressive, the main track was same, that the South Korean government wanted to make a change by engaging the regime of North Korea, but all failed. So now Yoon Suk-yeol government is now opening the dialogue channel with the North Korea, but also Yoon government wants to access and outreach the North Korean population as it is, and even we are advocating the extending the right of access to information. So maybe first North Korean regime is a little bit alarmed and shocked of this very brave approach. The second thing is that it's not an easy job for Kim Jong-un regime to deny it, because in North Korea, all generations, no matter how old you are, were trained and brainwashed with the word of reunification. Now, Kim Jong-un is saying two Koreas policy, while President Yoon Suk-yeol says it's reunification. So if Kim Jong-un wants to criticize the word of reunification, then he has to prepare very sophisticated theory to bombard it. But North Korea is not ready for that. Then second thing, in order to realize Kim Jong-un's two Koreas policy, he should be recognized with this policy. But nowadays, the countries around us are hesitating to accept this two Koreas policy, because it is very clear to them that Kim Jong-un wants to get the status of nuclear power by mentioning two Korea states on Korean Peninsula. So if any country around us accepts two Korea states on Korean Peninsula, that may naturally lead to the acknowledging North Korea's status of nuclear state. So it is a very delicate and dangerous move. So Kim Jong-un maybe is considering what could be, best policy approach to denying or criticizing the Yoon Suk-yeol's August 18 the reunification doctrine.
You've raised a very interesting point that North Korea may not yet have fully established its own theoretical framework for its two-state policy, and that could be one of the main reasons behind its silence. Now, you've mentioned a little bit about this, but what's your analysis of Kim Jong-un's two-state narrative? What is he trying to gain by abandoning North Korea's long-sought unification goals with the South?
A very good question. In the past 10 years, there has been great change in North Korea's social society. In the past 10 years, Kim Jong-un regime introduced a little bit new changes in education and IT society. For instance, all North Korean high schools were asked by the regime to open the computer lessons, so that now young generation in North Korea learn how to use computer. And this computer education naturally asked young generations to, have computers. So most of North Korean families now have either desktop or, tablet, whatever. So young generations now have access to computer. And now, from 9 years ago, there has been wide introduction of mobile phones. So once the people have mobile phones, you can send messages, share information. So the regime are in difficulty controlling the mass movement of informations behind the information. So all of a sudden, the Hallyu, is the Korean cultural wave, reached to North Korean society, and North Korean young generations now watch South Korean movies and dramas, and they are just mad with it. And now they are dreaming about reunification. They are now, when Korea is reunified, so that they can lead a similar life like young generations in South Korea. So in North Korea, even the dreaming of reunification is directly the threat of the system itself. So Kim Jong-un wants to even kill and destroy the dream of the young generations. So that's why he wants to tell North Korean regime that Korea would not be reunified anyway, any time in the future.
Now to perhaps the biggest question of the day. What practical steps are needed to advance the August 15th unification doctrine, and what role should the Unification Council play in the process?
Oh, my organization is a constitutional organization, and there are around 22,000 council members, domestic and worldwide. So we have a very good network nationwide and 136 countries worldwide. So with these huge organizations, we want to raise and carry out big reunification campaign so that we want to deliver to North Korean regime and the people as well that South Korean society wants to continue this movement of reunification no matter what Kim Jong-un regime wants to say. So we want to send a very clear message of reunification, and also we want to try to open more ways to let North Korean people have more freedom to the access of information. I think only this way we can prevent the possibility of nuclear war on Korean Peninsula, and this is, I think, the most pragmatic and effective way to realize peaceful reunification.
Now let's talk a little bit about North Korean defections. The total number of North Korean defectors actually dropped sharply in recent years, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. But reports indicate that elite North Korean defectors are on the rise. How do you see the current state of defections from the North, and what would future defection trends look like?
Even before COVID, there are many North Korean defectors arriving to South Korea, but this number dropped dramatically. There are many reasons. First of all, North Korean regime intensified its control along the border with China. The second thing that China introduced a lot of new AI technologies so that they can easily detect the illegal North Korean defectors movement. So it is more difficult for North Korean defectors to reach the countries like Vietnam or Laos or Thailand. And the thirdly is that there is a dramatic change in composition of North Korean defectors. For instance, 5 years ago, the majority of North Korean defectors' age were over 40s. But if we see the data of last year, the highest generation is 20s. Around 41% of North Korean defectors who arrived South Korea last year is the ones in 20s. And 21.7% is teenagers. And 21% is over 30s. So, in a word, 85% of North Korean defectors arrived last year are the people before 40s. So these young generations are coming to South Korea for the freedom and education, not for hunger. Yeah, so I think in the future, this kind of current would continue in the community of North Korean defectors.
You've now entered your second month as the leader of the Unification Council. What are your key goals and priorities for your tenure?
First of all, I want to urge my council members to have more active role to deliver the message of reunification, not only to domestically, but also to North Korean the population. And secondly, I want to raise, the awareness of the necessity of reunification to young generations in South Korea, so that I want to make and educate the South Korea's young generation as a kind of, future, the generation which can really carry out the cause of reunification.
I believe your message was very clear today that efforts must go on to reignite the spirit of unification and work toward materialization of the unification, which will bring immeasurable benefits to both Koreas. Thank you so much, Secretary General Tae, for making time for us and sharing your perspectives.
Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and be sure to tune in same time tomorrow to join our conversation. Goodbye for now.